Today on Woodworking with Wes, we're going to save you lots of money on a very useful piece of furniture. This is a Pottery Barn table. It's clean, simple, and beautiful, but way overpriced. Pottery Barn sells this table for $300. I built mine out of red oak for just $40. And no, I didn't cut corners. I just used smart design, affordable materials, and a little creativity. Let me show you how you can build yours. This table is very, very simple to build. It consists of only just basically 3 parts. There's the top, there's the shelf, and there's 4 legs. Here's one of the legs, and I'm going to show you how we do the legs, then we'll build the top, and the shelf is very simple. So let's get started with the leg. Our leg will be put together in an L shape and consists of 2 parts. 2 1/4 inches wide will be the width of our leg, and so what we did is we created a rabbet cut on one side with a 1/4 inch thickness, a 2-inch piece and a 2 1/4 inch piece. We'll put them together like this, and this creates our 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 effect. Gives us a nice looking leg. Let me show you how we're going to put this together. We'll put a bead of glue down the face of our 2-inch piece. Now, I haven't cut these to length yet. We'll cut them to length after we have them all put together. Then we're just going to put a very small bead of glue on the inside of our rabbet. And we'll just fold it over together like that. I don't need to worry about having the ends flush, like I say, because we're going to be cutting it to length afterward. I'm using 3 1/4 inch small crown staples. Now, typically I don't nail together with a staple, but because of the finish that we're going to put on this, a staple is actually going to hide better than a nail. There's our leg put together, nice and smooth, 2 1/4, 2 1/4, L shape. Let's sand this out. We'll put some wood filler on our staple holes so that they'll be hidden. Once that's dry, we'll take and we'll just sand it. Our putty is dry here. We're sanding with 120 grit sandpaper. We'll sand the face of both sides, which will clean up this seam. Let's do that, a little of that. You can see how with a little bit of sanding, that seam almost disappears. Okay, let's grab one here that has been sanded. Okay, here's one. We went ahead and we sanded this one, both sides. Then we tip it over, and we're going to sand this edge. This is going to show. We'll take the saw blade marks off of that and sand that on both sides. And I'm going to take my sander and run down the inside corners, just like that. That's going to take off that sharp edge. This is the inside corner. We'll work on the outside corner here in just a second, but that takes the inside corner. We'll just sand that off. So we've now sanded the 2 edges, we've sanded the 2 faces, and we've knocked off the sharp edge on the back. Now we have some routing to do to put a really decorative cut all the way around on our leg. In my trim router, I have installed a chamfer bit. A chamfer bit just cuts a 45-degree face on whatever you're routing. We're going to do a chamfer cut on the outside corner and on the inside of each leg all the way around. Let's go ahead and show you how we're going to do that. Then we'll take a look at it when it's all done. You can see how that makes a nice edge on the corner. Same here, same here. After I put the chamfer on, I've got to sand this one little flat spot here that the router created. I've already sanded this. I've already sanded the edges of the uprights, and I've already sanded that inside corner. All we could do is take our sander, and run down the flat spot of the routs and sand those up just like that. Okay, we'll get that all done. That is all of the sanding we're going to do on the leg for right now. We have one additional step that we're going to do that has more to do with the finish than anything else. Once we get everything all sanded, here's one that I have already all sanded, ready to go. And I took my wire brush and I wire brushed the oak to give it a more enhanced grain. If you run your fingers across it, you can feel that the grain of the oak isn't smooth like a finished sanding would leave it. It's smooth because we've sanded it, but you can feel the extra texture to the grain because we've enhanced the grain with our wire brush. When we get ready to do our finish, you're going to see how that comes into play. But I just wanted to let you know that I'm doing it right now because it's easier to do it without the legs connected. And like I say, we're going to cut the legs to length. When we get done, I made them 24.5 inches long. We're going to be cutting them to size. So 2¼ by 2¼ by 24.5 is the start of your leg. I'm going to set the legs off to the side for a minute, and we're going to turn our attention to the top. I have the top all glued up, so we're going to take it out of clamps. I glued up 3 boards to make the top. 2 clamps on the bottom, 1 clamp on the top. You've seen me glue up things before. We've got a little bit of squeeze out that we've got to clean off. You can see our squeeze out, but our board is all dry and it's nice and flat. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to sand this nice and smooth. I haven't cut it to size yet. Let me go ahead and get it all sanded. Then I'll show you that we're going to cut it to size and how we're going to finish making the top to make it look a little bit like our legs. I went ahead and sanded the top. I just wanted to let you know the overall size of our top is going to be 18 by 21. Now I needed to cut the top 17.5 by 20.5 in order to put our edge around it like we did. Now we did our edge the exact same way that we did our 2 pieces for our legs. We did a rabbet cut that was 3/4 inch by 1/2 inch, leaving us a 1/4 inch lip. And we're going to miter this around the outside edges of our top. Like that. I've already taken my router and put it a mitered chamfer cut on the bottom side. Once we get this all put in, we'll do another chamfer cut on the top so that it will have a little bit of a look kind of like our leg right there. And I cut these miter cuts on my miter sled on my table saw. So we have a nice exact cut. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these cut to length and put on. And we'll go ahead and put our chop chamfer around, and let me show you the top when we get all done. It's going to make a beautiful top, and it's going to have a really nice edge. We are going to nail in a piece of pine that is going to be our hanging cleat for attaching this. This is the top. Our top is going to go over the top of this, and we're going to put a screw through this pine piece into the underneath side of our top as our hanging cleat. We're just going to nail it in with some 1.5 inch 18 gauge brads. We'll make sure that it's flush with the top like that. And then we'll turn it over, and we're going to make sure that we're still flush with the top all the way across so we keep our legs straight. These nails will be covered. We're not going to bother to fill these nails because they will be covered as we install the legs to the top. Let's take a look. I just wanted to show you our finished top. We've got our edge put on it. We put a chamfer across the top to match our chamfer on the bottom, and we took our wire brush after we sanded this all down. We took our wire brush and wire brushed the top of this to enhance our grain. So if you, I know you can't see it, but if you put your hand across it, you can feel that our grain is just a little elevated from a final sand aspect. Okay, let's put our legs on. We're going to turn our top over. Our legs are going to be installed like this. Let me turn it so you can see it better. There you go. Our legs will be installed like that. We'll put some screws down through here. Before I do that, I'm going to put a little bunch of glue in the corners that will fit to the top of the legs and then screw down through here. Only in the corners will it be glued. I'm going to put a little glue here in the corners, right underneath the legs themselves. We'll take and put our legs on top, holding them as tight into the corners. I'm going to put one screw in the middle first, and then one screw out to each side. Yeah, see, let's get around here so you can see it go in. Okay, same on the other side. Here's the shelf that we're going to be putting in. I did it the same way. It's 3 pieces glued together. It's cut to size. It's cut to fit inside of our legs. And then we're going to be attaching it with pocket screws from underneath. And I made my pocket screws go both directions so we can pull those corners together. This is what's going to make our legs really straight and strong. So let's go ahead. I'm going to show you how I'm going to space this in order to make it even from our tabletop. I want the distance from the underneath side of my table to the top of my shelf to be 18 inches. So what I did is I cut me a spacer that is 18 inches. I also made me one over here so I can hold up this end of my shelf. Our shelf, like I say, is going to go in between the legs. Let me get this set in place like that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, there we got it. Okay, just like that. We're going to be using pocket screws in the corners. I'll hold this in tight, use our pocket screws. We're not using any glue in here. We're just going to use pocket screws because we have lots of different grain going different directions, and I didn't want to have any glue be an issue. So we're just going to use the pocket screws. Let's start with this one. There we are. Now we'll come in from the other direction with our other pocket screw, like that. I'm going to try to get my hands out of the way so you can see how that works. There we are. And we'll do every corner just like that. Now that's good and solid, and it makes our leg good and solid also. Now with the table all together, it makes it very sturdy and strong with the shelf and the top. And you can see how it really came together very nice. Very open, lots of storage down below, and a nice tabletop up top. We're ready for the stain. We're going to stain it black, just like the picture that you saw. Our enhanced grain will show through the black stain and give it a real texture. The stain that I'm going to be using is Minwax True Black. So I've already mixed it up and ready to go. And I'm going to be applying it with a little bit of a stiff bristle brush so that we can get down into that enhanced oak grain. I'm only going to do a little bit to show you how we're going to put it on, and then we'll come back when it's all done so you can see. But you can see how that enhancing of the grain that we did, you can already see how the grain is going to stand out. We're going to put our stain on kind of thick like this so that it really is all black. There's not going to be any wood color show through. This is all going to be about the color of the stain and the wood grain that we used. So After I sprayed 2 coats of clear pre-catalyzed lacquer, we ended up with a beautiful little table. And we'll see you next time on Woodworking with Wes.